Все запустил. Стоп, я вообще все настроил. Я нарик-то, блядь. Вроде все настроил.
Пока что мы с Ветровым сидим и делаем берега.
Угу. Это хорошо.
Сделайте стрим по Майнкрафту. Я считаю,
Я, кстати,
хорошая
думал
мысль.
как-то реально по Майнкрафту Steam зафигарить, но... Ебать, блядь, громко. Ёбнуться, блядь. Тебя, блядь, микро громче, чем у меня, ёбнешься. Скажи что-нибудь.
Я старался.
Теперь вообще тихий. Говори нормально.
Говорю громко.
Мгм,
Ладно,
громко,
говорю
да.
нормально. Твой Ветров что-то бегает. А, у него задачи нет никакой, наверное, вот.
Я расстроился, потому что вспомнил, что здесь же русской локализации.
Где?
Да. Здесь есть пиратская русская локализация, но она на старую версию. Так, перетащите ползунок, пока компьютер не будет едва виден.
Блин, жалко, у Ветрова нет. А, нету русской локализации в Стэнли Парабл. Понял.
Есть пиратский, но он даже очень хороший.
Там озвучка есть?
Да, озвучка, но она пиратская и то, ну, типа неофициальная, из-за чего, а это новая версия, и на нее пока нету озвучки, вряд ли будет. Вот в чем ирония. Так, текущее время. Блять, это ВМ. Я вот сейчас мне нужно идти
Угу.
и искать, как эта тема работает. Сколько у меня вообще времени? Это PM или AM?
Пими.
Часовой пояс. Пермь. Заебись. Вот. 9:0 PM. 9. Я не знаю, зачем им это, но ок. Блять, нет, там 6. Ну, уже не важно. У меня специальные настройки можно выбрать в главном меню. Окей. Вы запустили the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Аудио, видео. Без рамок. Сглаживания. Вроде все хорошо. Язык русский. Испаньоль.
Английский.
Вот. Так, субтитры средние. Большие. Очень большие. Очень маленькие. Пусть будет, наверное, средние.
Очень большие субтитры.
Часовка, наверное, 80 нормально будет. Наверное, даже 85 будет.
Будет все палки. А голову возьмем. У меня были палки. Летим.
Охуенные предупреждения. Добавлять предупреждения и возможность пропустить эпизоды, связанные с суицидом, травмами и душевными болезнями. Это всю игру надо запретить, блядь. Как подумать.
Блин.
This is the story I named Stanley.
Так. Ну, это, я всех приветствую, настроение, естественно. В общем, я все это набираю, но я вот сижу чисто думаю, что бы сделать такого. Ну и решил, что почему бы не зафигарить стримчанский по этому. По Stanley был. Вот. Пум. Раз только все рубль, блядь, и так далее. Блять, звук, правда, как всегда, в принципе, дерьм. Ну, ладно, вы сюда приходите именно для него, поэтому почему бы нет. Прикс.
О! Тазик! Это вы! Нам
Нашел
нужна ваша
тазик.
помощь.
This is the story of a man
Смотрите, нам
named
надо
Stanley.
расчищать вот эту всю местность, вон тут. Вот.
Stanley worked
Это
for a
история
company in a big
Stanley.
building
Stanley
where he
работал
was
в большой
employee
компании на
number
должности сотрудника
427.
номера 427.
Employee number 427's
Сотрудника
job
номер
was simple.
427 было
He
простое.
sat at his
Он
desk
сидел
in
за
room
столом в комнате
427 and he
427
pushed
и нажимал
buttons on the
кнопки.
keyboard. Orders came to him through a
Инструкции
monitor at his
приходили к
desk,
нему на
telling
экран.
him what buttons to
Он
push,
указывал
how
ему,
long to
какие
push
кнопки
them,
нажимать, как
and
долго и
in
в
what order.
каком порядке.
This is what employee
Сотрудник
427
номер
did every
427
day
делал
of
это
every
11
month
днем, год
of
за
every
год.
year. And although
И
others might have
хотя
considered
кто-то
it
может
soul
сказать, что такая
winning,
работа
Stanley
вытягивает
relished
душу,
every
Стэнли
moment that
был
the orders
рад
came in,
каждой новой
as
инструкции
though
и
he had been
чувствовал, что
made
он создан
exactly
для
for
этой
this
работы.
job. And Stanley
Стэнли
was
был
happy.
счастлив.
And then one day
Но
something very
однажды произошло
peculiar
что-то очень
happened.
странное.
Something that would
Что-то
forever
навсегда
change Stanley.
изменит Стэнли.
Something he would never
От
quite
чего он
forget.
никогда не забудет.
He had been at his
Он
desk for
сидел за
nearly an hour
столом около
when he
часа
realized
и
that not
вдруг понял, что ему
one
до сих
single
пор не пришло
order
ни
had
одной
arrived on the
инструкции.
monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to
Никто
give
не
him
зашел дать
instructions,
ему
call a
задание, позвать
meeting,
на
or
совещание или
even say
просто
hi.
поздороваться.
Never in all
За
his
все
years at the
годы в
company
компании
had
такого
this
еще не
happened,
случалось.
this
Он был
complete
совсем один.
isolation. Something was very
Что-то
clearly
явно
wrong.
пошло не так.
Shocked, frozen
Стэнли
solid, Stanley
оцепенел,
found himself
довольно
unable
долго
to
он не
move
мог
for the
пошевелиться,
longest time.
пошевелить и
But as he
пальцем.
came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk
Встал из-за
and
стола и
stepped out of
вышел
his
из
office.
кабинета. Только сейчас задумался проверить, у меня шутка там доступ. О. Так. Я не могу открыть. Видите, заново. Кстати, а можно сразу попробовать чисто чекнуть достижения, что здесь есть-то? Где достижения? А где достижения? У игры нет достижений, что ли? Что это, их убрать решили? Не, это я почему-то перестал достижения видеть, что за ересь. А, нет. Во, все появились. Достижение. То есть, ну, я почему-то не появились в штабе, окей. Еще не появились. Угу. Ваше первое достижение удается за первое достижение, каким бы оно ни было. Пройти игру, пройти со Стэнли Парабл. Тестовое достижение не трогать. Описание тестового достижения заменить. С возвращением. Выйдите из игры, а потом снова выйдите. Серьезно, мы отключили прыжки. Прыгать нельзя. Топ, то есть.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could
Пропали.
it mean?
Кто бы
Stanley
это могло?
decided to go to the meeting room.
Прийти к
Perhaps he had
переговорам,
simply
может быть,
missed a
он
memo.
просто упоминал. Ладно. Ам, э, при прилежании играйте в The Stanley Parable весь вторник. Ладно. 8, 8, 8, 8, в общем, огромное количество восьмерок. Нажмите на дверь 435 раз, и нажмите на дверь 435 раз. На скорость пройти Stanley Parable меньше, чем за 4 минуты без учета времени загрузки. Чемпион мира. Э, Грани в 10 FPS. Да, она и не особо была в 10 FPS. Хотя какие-то игры у меня и вправду могли на стриме лагать. Так, вот что это? Так, ага. Идем дальше. Пройдите сцену меньше, чем за 4 минуты 22 секунды. Чемпион мира по настройкам. Передвиньте ползунки настроек в меню на все возможные значения. Перерыв. Так, перерыв. Не играйте Stanley Parable 10 лет. Вот это я понимаю достижение. Вот это да. Это да. А что
No
если...
matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
А что если я такой вот бунтарь? Попробую сейчас...
At first, Stanley
Сначала Стэнли
assumed he'd
подумал,
broken
что
the
сломал
map
карту.
until he heard this
Он
narration and
услышал
realized
это
it was part of the
комментарий и
game's
понял,
design
что
all
это
along.
тоже часть
He
игры.
then praised the
Он
game for its
воздал
insightful
ее
and witty
должное
commentary
за
into the nature of
поучительный и
video game
остроумный
structure
комментарий о
and its
природе
examination of
метких
structural
значений о
narrative
типичных сюжетных
tropes.
ходах.
So, now that
Раз
you're
уж
here, what
тут
do you
оказался
think?
как
Isn't
себе.
this a fun and
Правда, классное и
unique place to
уникальное место.
be?
Да.
Why don't we take a
Только
minute
просто
just to
именно
pull in?
согласен.
Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you
Причем
sick
такой
of this
маленький.
gag yet?
Ты так прикольно. Тебе надоело этот... Нет.
Ah, then in that
Что?
case we'll
А
continue.
продолжаем.
But now, here comes the real question. What do you
Вопрос.
think would have happened if you had told me that you
бы ты
wanted this to
ответил, что
stop? Do you think it would have been particularly
бы
different?
изменилось?
Would I have taken the same idea
Взял
but
бы
rephrased it
идею
superficially to
спектакля.
fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it.
Подумай.
Would it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other options so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
Счастливо. Здесь стрелки почему-то звук есть от клавиши. Стрим, кстати, лагает, надо проверить. Не лагает. Значит, у меня на планшете не лагает.
Вот с этой стороны, где мы сейчас равняем землю, тут будет главсклад. Здесь вы понимаете. Почему остался только Вова Ветров, Тазик? Вы что, убежали, что ли, уже? Или это Тазик? Это Вова Ветров. Блэ, Тазик, вы нас бросили.
Нет, это просто я врубил наушники.
Так нет, он просто сейчас его тут нет. с нами.
Я решил зайти, потому что я немножко в тупик зашел.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Ты как, прикол уже.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. You too will become quite unbearable.
Прыгать нельзя. Хоть достижение. Достижение. Я уже 2 достижения получил. Серьезно, мы отключили прыжки. Прыгать нельзя. Надо будет это потом записать как-нибудь. Так. Я сквозь стул хожу.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes. But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Отличается диалоги.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
А может, если 3 раза это сделать, то будет что-то новое?
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes. But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Окей, сейчас последний раз. О, кабинет изменился. Местонахождение поменялось. О, все, дверь не закрывается. Ах, вы негодяи. Вообще не нажимается теперь.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Почему это влево? Конечно.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. Yes, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it. At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
И мало подстёбывает, это классно. Первый дед.
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue, but when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Прикольно. Я играл в Stanley, кстати, Parable, но я как-то линейно в нее играл. Очень линейно. Сейчас я по-другому поиграл. Ну, точнее, по-другому играю, это интересно. А вот промо совсем чуть-чуть пиратку скачал, там русификатор, и чуть-чуть побегал, там парочку всяких пасхалочек понаходил и все. Но таких прям жестких оскорблений я впервые слышу от него. Здесь можно собраться. Топа здесь же можно, получается. А что здесь, кстати, где-нибудь что-то спрятано? А чё? Все хорошо. А что заценяет? Нифига себе. чё
Stanley was
себе.
so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Not лай. Поэтому стат. Блин, я не знаю, как это переводится, но здесь походу меме. Ключ-карта. Как... О, кстати, а здесь коробки не... Не, на них забраться нельзя. Угу, но здесь ничего не сделаешь, хорошо.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Блять. Иди нахер.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
Стоп, там была какая-то ошибка. Ладно. Сам-то деле...
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Не искал. Кого, блядь, не было. Двери открытые. Кстати, ачивка же вроде есть. О, вот.
Oh, please.
Да брось.
Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks. No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
417, хорошо, поехали. Уже все. Тут не получится остановиться.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
Ага. Так, 473. 473.
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415. Let's give it 10 clicks or so.
415. Вперед. Ура! Где это вообще? 415. А, вот.
Now, back to door number 437.
Обратно к двери 437. Вперед.
Let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine.
Xerox.
All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere.
Ощущение, что дело важное. Я тоже это чувствую.
Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk.
419. 400 это здесь.
Yes, this is great. You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
416 это дверь.
We've almost got it. Now the copy machine, do that one again.
Xerox. А где Xerox? Блять, где? А, там Xerox.
Finish it off, Stanley! 5 clicks on door, 430! Yes! We did it! Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it, Stanley. Nothing could hold you back. Yes, I'm very proud of how far we've come today. Just think, only a few minutes ago, you believed an achievement was worth 5 little clicks. Really now? What were you thinking?
Охуенная игра.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
Днем рождения, успеха, радости, видения, любви, желаний, исполнения, миллионной ночи, дней, днем рождения. Ничего, настроения и смелых преданных друзей. Иман, спасибо, Фаер. Это очень хорошее поздравление. Понравилось. Такое чувство, как будто он скопировано с интернета, но мне понравилось.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust in someone else can be difficult, but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Иди нахер.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Welcome to the whiteboard ending. Вау! Это же конец белого борда. Белой доски. Док мод. Док мод. Ну, док мод мы, конечно, поставим, потому что собаки круче, чем коты. Я теперь наелаю. Это замечательно. Блять, офигенный мод.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Это песня. Ну теперь понятно.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley left from... All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
ДС черкнуть. А что там ДС? Класс. Да, это класс. Да, конечно. Это вот просто класс. Это шик. Вот. Стоп, а почему я лайк не могу? А, вот все, нормально, вперед. Подсобка.
Stanley stepped into the broom
Он
closet,
подсобку, но
but there
там
was
ничего не
nothing
было.
here, so he turned
Поэтому он
around and
развернулся и
got back
пошел
on
дальше.
track.
Здесь вообще-то есть ключ разводной.
There was nothing here. No choice to
Там
make,
ничего не
no
было.
path to
Ни
follow,
подсказок,
just
ни
an
ходов,
empty broom
просто
closet.
пустая
No
подсобка.
reason to still be here.
Оставьте смысла не было. Оставаться смысла не было. Смысла не было. Я бы вот это вот взял.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA. Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
А зачем нам эта история? Давай новую. Давай новую.
Maybe to you this is somehow its
Может быть,
own
думаешь, что
branching
есть сюжетная
path.
развилка?
Maybe when you go talk about this with your
Типа, когда
friends, you'll
будешь
say, "Oh,
создать игру.
did
А
you get the
выдашь ты
broom
концовки,
closet ending?
концовка,
The
подсобки,
broom
моя
closet ending was my
любимая.
favorite." I hope your
Надеюсь,
friends
друзья,
find this
посмотрите, как там
concerning.
психо. Бля. Это обидно вообще.
Stanley was fat and ugly and really,
Он
really
был толстый,
stupid.
некрасивый,
He probably
очень,
only
очень
got the job
тупой.
because of a
Наверняка
family
вся именно
connection. That's how
работа была
stupid he is.
плату была.
That or with drug
Ой,
money.
и за
Also,
взятку.
Stanley is addicted to
Ещё
drugs and hookers.
наркоман и снимает.
Well, I've
Это
come
было
to a very
обидно.
definite
Мне кажется,
conclusion
наконец-то
about what's
понял, что
going
сейчас
on right
происходит.
now.
Ты умер.
You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit,
А,
and were just about to
деле,
leave
да.
because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort
Какая-то
shut down your
твоя
central nervous system,
правильно, у меня
and you
мысли нет.
collapsed
Слушай, я
on
вот
the
тут бегу,
keyboard.
потому что я умер.
Well, in a situation like this, the
Ты
responsible
должен
thing is to alert someone
привести к
nearby so as to
поблизости.
ensure that your body is taken care
Чтобы
of
твое тело
before it
забрали,
begins to
прежде чем оно начнет.
decompose.
Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby?
рядом.
The person at this
Человек за
computer is
компьютером умер.
dead. They have fallen
Он
prey
стал
to any number
жертвой
of your
одной из
countless human
важных
physiological
ваших
vulnerabilities.
человеческих
It's
ошибок
indicative of the
организма.
long-term
Достоило
sustainability of
поработать
your
над этим,
species.
как
Please remove their
эти его
corpse
трупы
from the
получите
area
другим
and instruct
человека
another
занять
human to
место на
take their
компьютере.
place, making sure they understand
Понимаешь,
basic
базовая механика
first-person
видеоигр
video
от
game
первого
mechanics
лица.
and filling them in on the
Еще
history of
придумано
narrative
открыть
tropes in
скажу
video
ему
gaming,
сюжета
so that the
видеоигр,
irony
чтобы
and
ирония и
insightful
тонкий юмор
commentary
этой
of
игры
this
не
game
пропал
is
даром.
not lost on them.
All right. When you've done that, just step out into
закончится,
the
пусть новый
hallway.
игрок входит в коридор. Если учитывать тот факт, что весь тонкий юмор игры просирается по факту того, что, блять, оно не переведено, ну, то есть озвучки нету, я не успеваю все это читать, то...
Ah, second
ты
player. It's
игрок,
good to
рад
have you on
познакомиться.
board. I guarantee
А
you
хуже,
can't
чем
do any
предыдущий,
worse
ты
than the
всё
person who
равно не
came before
будешь.
you. You too?
И ты туда же.
Unbelievable.
Чудесно.
I'm at the mercy of an
Тут
entire
биологический
species
вид
of
и все
invalids.
инвалиды.
Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Узнать, что дальше. Окей, ладно. Хлопка. Это офигенно.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Что внизу, да? Воу. Писка от кого-то. Причем детская.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange, this can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too, surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story
Это
of a
история
woman named
женщины по имени
Mariella.
Мариэлла.
Mariella woke up on a
Мариэлла
day like any
проснулась
other.
обычным утром.
She arose, got
Она
dressed,
встала,
gathered her
оделась,
belongings, and
собралась и
walked to
пошла
her
на
place of
работу.
work. But on this particular
Но в
day,
этот день
her
ей
walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body, and then she turned and ran.
Я в ахуе. Охуеть.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
С ними пишут так.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Она ждет тебя. Про кого вообще?
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Доброе утро, сотрудник. Нажмите на своей клавиатуре. Это английский.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again. And then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Нажмите H, чтобы утром оказаться на работе. А у меня и выбора, по сути, нет.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried. Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Новый контент. Я пока не хочу новый контент, я бы, наверное...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Я, пожалуй, закончу чисто вот его инструктор.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Туалет начальника. Странно, почему-то вот это переводится. А вот это не переводится. Опа, что будет, если... Так, ладно. Окей, идем дальше. Буш у нас стратегия. Интересно. Подпевает очень тихо. Только сейчас понял, что вполне возможно не едет по просто дороги. Да, походу так и есть. Оп. Окей, я думал, что он залагает, но нет. Так, ладно.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
2, 8, 4, 9.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Какая комбинация-то?
2845. Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Так, здесь двойка. Оттуда двойка, пятерка, 8, пятерка, 4. А, что-то уж неправильно вбил. Точно оно? Ну ладно.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Whoops, nope, never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me. Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out. Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator. It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow! I'm bolted to the edge of my seat. Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all of this? Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor, won't he? Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Escape. Вентилятор странный.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for.
Негодяй.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Кто-то уволен, кстати, тут пишут. Pirate. И Pirate тут не уволен. Там что-то написано еще. Вон тот монитор. Здесь бы, конечно, полетать. На самом-то деле. CCTV. О, тут слово даже какое-то есть. О. Прикольно, здесь можно было много пасхалок спрятать. Буду даже спрятали. Где вообще самый первый? О, во. И есть даже нулевое место, воу. Вон там что-то есть.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Оно быстрее становится. Походу сейчас что-то изменится. Это что? Это у них там что в этом было. В ящиках странное. Некоторые, кстати, здесь повторяются. Экраны я очень еще заметил. Походу было лень прям каждому отдельно придумывать. О, вон там видно одинаковые как раз таки. Место прикольное, на самом-то деле. Я, если честно, даже странно, что им было лень, потому что столько всего они сделали. Тут им было лень. О, кстати, открылось, оно было закрытым. Или это... Да, это оно открылось. Какие-то ключ-карты, что ли, требуют или что? ничего прикольного не будет, да? Так, ладно. О. Close never arrange. Опять вот. Я вообще ни одного слова здесь не понимаю, кроме employees, то я его уже забыл. Never, типа, этот нельзя вроде, невозможно. Пипец, конечно, ладно. Ладно.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Комплекс на паузе, ждем ввода. Это прям как этот, как на компе было. Тоже ждем ввода. Питание системы. Выкл. Выключить или включить?
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty.
Сомнение по спине.
Was it over?
Все, кончено?
Yes.
Да.
He had won.
Он победил.
He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Здесь, кстати, ничего нет, да? Да.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Достижение получено. Пройдите игру. Это получается вся основная сюжетная линия. То есть это по сути каноничная концовка.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
АКС. Ой, контент. Я правда думаю, контент, но потом пощупать.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, giddy but eager to get back to business.
С другой стороны, можно на новый контент взглянуть.
Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Выбор, вон он. Один из главных смыслов игры.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
У нас есть выбор. Внимание, не прыгайте с грузового лифта, пока он движется. Это приведет к смерти. Штраф за нарушение правил. Имитация грузового лифта $1000. Штраф за спрыгивание с грузового лифта $5000.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why? I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Красная. Синяя.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Дверь. Здесь, кстати, дверь с ключ-картой.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Красную.
All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Oh, of course. 3. Really? Maybe next time we can get you to form an actual opinion, you know? Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings, does that sound good? Think we can do that, yes? Wonderful. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Stanley Parable Worldwide Leaderboard. Put old nail. Is offline, 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 offline. Муссолини offline. Is online. Think you. Вау. 9328 из 9328. Вау. Окей. Здесь что сейчас могут? Вот вообще всех? Типа они перечислять будут, что ли? А, не, она типа, она заскриптована. Да. Я только сейчас понял, что там последние личности там Гитлер и Муссолини.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
О боже.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out, I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes. This seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Кстати, сейчас будет.
Oh no.
О, нет.
No, it can't be.
Не может быть.
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
Oh,
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing. Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun. Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought, and I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball. Yes! Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
Да, что ты делаешь? У тебя дыре, да, у меня дыре. Ау. Боже. Сколько мечей.
Are you enjoying this, Stanley?
Тебе это нравится?
Are you having fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time, because guess what? It's over. That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what I am. I am structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much. But who knows? You're an inventive kid. You'll come up with something. After all, you're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley.
Так, я тогда уже получше отвечу на комментарий. У тебя ДР, да. Да, у меня сегодня ДР 30 мая. Что ж, ладно, вперед.
Hold on.
Стой, ты куда собрался? Дед.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Кстати, там круглая дырка. Еще из прошлой части, хотя она должна быть квадратной. Как типа в новой, там это должна быть. Ай, дыра это... Дырку. Угу. Стрёмная, если честно, установка.
I wonder what he found.
Интересно, что он нашел.
If what he wanted was
Если
to
он
be the
хотел
leading
писать
man in his own
сценарий
story, well,
своей
perhaps
истории,
he's gotten
он,
it,
скорее всего,
down
делал
in
этого,
wherever he is
где бы он
right
там ни
now.
был.
I wonder if he's happy with his
Естественно, доволен ли он
choice,
своим выбором.
and if he's learned the
Понимаешь ли
heavy
он,
cost
какой
that
ценой
comes with it.
он
He'll
достоин.
understand soon what I was
Вот
trying to
что
tell
я
him.
пытался ему
He
объяснить.
needs me.
Я ему не
Someone who will wrap
я
everything up at the
я
end
к нему.
to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am.
Вот моя роль.
That is what
Вот
I
почему
mean
я
to this
важен для
world.
этого мира.
Oh, yes.
О,
Yes,
да,
I'll
я
be
еще
back.
вернусь.
There's no other
Это
way.
точно.
Once this ends, after it
Когда
all comes to a
это
close,
закончится,
then
когда
I'll be
остановится,
back.
я вернусь.
The end will be here
Конец
soon.
уже близок. Очень близок.
Very soon. I can wait.
Я подожду.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Контент. Вау.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ладно, я обещал, что я закончу.
The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps too majestic, like a combination of a much smaller version and a much larger version of this exact room. It all made Stanley uncomfortable, and he started to bleed a little. This made him smile. At last, proof that he was human.
В общем, вот, да. В общем,
Yes. Really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some...
Вот. Вырубили рассказчика. Ну, в общем, все. Спасибо всем, кто был на стриме. Я, пожалуй, пойду. Вот, я... У меня уже 10 часов, да, с половиной, поэтому пойду уже вообще отдыхать и, в принципе, заканчивать свой день рождения в каком-то смысле. Вот. Ну, именно в том, что когда вообще, в принципе, у человека день рождения заканчивается и начинается. Ну, там, окей, какие размышления там для другого времени оставим. Вот. А я тогда уж, пожалуй, пойду. Да. Что ж, все, всем спасибо, всем пока. Я заколебался здесь сидеть, потому что, ну, это
This is the
просто
story.
ужас. Здесь вообще нет
This is the
русской
story of a...
озвучки. Это ужас. Нихера не понимаю, ничего не понял, блять. Надо накачивать сюда русскую версию. Все, всем пока.